Is Wick just a Grixis Minsk and Boo timeless hero? Both Minsk and Whisk create a creature token that they can then pump and sacrifice for value. There are a few differences between them, aside from their colors. So Wick will hit all opponents, so if we sacrifice like a 10-10 snail, we actually deal a total of 30 damage, compared to just 10 for Minsk and Boo. And because Wick is the one dealing the damage, we can use Tainted Strike to actually one-shot the entire table with Infect. Technically, Minsk and Boo also does the damage, but it's a Planeswalker, so it'll be harder to give Infect. And if the snail dies before we sacrifice it, we need another rat to enter in order to get another snail. Unlike Minsk and Boo, where we just get a Boo at the beginning of each upkeep if we want. And of course there are more differences in that, but those are kind of the key ones. I guess also that Minsk can sacrifice any creature, while Wick is stuck sacrificing just snails. But that really shouldn't be a problem as long as we build this deck right. Aside from all that, let's dive in and see how we want to build Wick. But before we do that, I want to let you know we have a Discord server now. It's a great place to hang out, suggest video ideas, and get deck help. And if you enjoy my content, consider signing up to be a channel member. For as low as $1.99 a month, you get special Discord flair, access to members only channels, and you help support the channel so I can keep making content that you like. You can find a link for both the Discord server and the membership in the video description below. Alright, back to your normally scheduled video. First and foremost, Wick is a rat-focused commander, so we don't get snails unless Wick or other rats enter, which means creatures like Vren, Lord Skitter Sewer King, and Pack Rat should make the cut in pretty much every single deck. They all make additional rats, which means we can get a larger snail. And Wick counts every rat that enters, so if we make 10 rats with Vren, our snails get 10 counters. If you have the extra budget, Maronar is essentially a Krenko mob boss for rats, and it gives all our rats fear, which makes them essentially unblockable in a lot of situations. And much like a mass, Wick's ability checks if there already is a snail in play. And if you're wondering how many snails there are in Magic, the answer is exactly one. Skullcap Snail. However, changelings like Taurian Mauler, Bloodline Pretender, and Changeling Outcast are technically snails. This means Wick needs to give them counters instead of making a snail token. Now, Taurian Mauler and Bloodline Pretender can also get pretty large really fast, giving us even more value when we sacrifice them to Wick's ability. The other thing we can do is just turn all of our creatures into snails or rats with Arcane Adaptation, Conspiracy, and Maskwood Nexus. Now technically, Maskwood Nexus turns all of our creatures into every creature type, but you get the idea. Now notably, Arcane Adaptation and Conspiracy let us go infinite so long as we have a sack outlet. Let me explain. If you have Wick and Arcane Adaptation or Conspiracy in play, naming rats, whenever a rat enters, we would get a snail. So then when the snail token enters, it's also a rat, triggering Wick. With Wick's ability on the stack, checking if we have a snail or not, you can sacrifice the snail to Ashnod's Altar for colorless mana, Goblin Bombardment for damage, or Altar of Dementia for mill. Then, since there are no snails in play, we get a new snail token, which will then trigger Wick again, and now we can sack the token again, and we just keep repeating this for infinite sacks. If your sack outlet doesn't let you win, Impact Tremors and Mirkwood Bats can just end the game. So if you do include this combo, I would probably just pick sack outlets that let you win on the spot for sake of simplicity. Now notably, this combo doesn't work with Maskwood Nexus, since Maskwood makes everything a rat and a snail, so you have to put a counter on another creature since they're also a snail. However, Maskwood Nexus with a card like Cauldron of Souls provides incredible board wipe protection, since your creatures would all come back with a -1/-1 counter, then Wick would let you put a +1/+1 counter on them, removing the -1/-1 counter. If you do include ways to change creatures' types, you could also use active treason effects to steal your opponent's big creatures, and then they'll be snails, and then you can sacrifice them to Wick's ability. Now, aside from the combos and rats, there are a few other cards we could add to Wick. If you want to lean into the +1/+1 counters, you could go with a proliferation theme with cards like Inexorable Tide, Contagion Engine, and Contagion Clasp. If you do go this route, you can also lean a little bit more into Infect with Koromox the Rat King and Ichor Rats. You might get some heat for this, but do what you think is fun. Now, the other option, which I think is more realistic, is a Blink package. Panharmonicon and Virtue of Knowledge, while not Blink cards, are great at doubling up on Wick's trigger and whatever other rats have ETBs. Conjurer's Closet, Thassa Deep Dwelling, and a weird card, Mirror of Life Tapping, are repeatable ways to kind of blink our rats. Also, Vren and Mirror of Life Tapping is a really cute interaction. Because Vren checks at the end of each turn how many creatures were exiled, with Mirror of Life tapping out, if our opponent casts, let's say, 2 creatures would be exiled, so we get 2 rats. You can also add blink spells like Ghostly Flicker, Teferi's Time Twist, and Planar Incision. If you do add these, maybe you'll want to add Orvar the Allform. They are technically a snail, and they let you make token copies of your creatures. Same is true if you run cards like Not Dead After All, Feign Death, and Malakare Rebirth. This might be a little too cute, but I really wanted to point it out in case you want to go for it. Now there is one card I want to talk about, and it's probably not actually good in the deck, but Spike Cannibal will steal all +1/+1 counters from every creature. So if you can somehow make this a snail, it instantly becomes a huge beater that can also be sacrificed to Wick for a ton of value. And if you really wanted to, you could build a Garuda Doom of Depths companion rat deck. There are 49 even mana value rats you can include. Personally, I would avoid this, but it is something you can do. I'll link the Scryfall search for all the even mana value rats in the video description below. So how do we win with the deck? Well, like I said at the start, since Wick deals the damage, Tainted Strike, Pheresis, and Glistening Oil can one-shot the table. Personally, I would only add Tainted Strike to the deck since it's such a cheap trick. Also, the combos mentioned earlier are a great way to close out the game. Granted, they require a little setup. Twisted Sewer Witch can give all of our rats Wicked Roll auras that will then ping the table when they hit the graveyard. This is actually great if we can blink this with multiple rats in play, because the new auras will come in, replacing the old ones, and then the old ones will go to the graveyard, dealing damage. And then Bastion of Remembrance is always a good option if you're going to be sacrificing creatures. So let me know what you think of Wick. Are you excited to see it? Do you think it's just a boring rat commander? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, you can find a link to this deck in the video description, and don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get notifications when all my videos go live. Also, there's a Discord server, and consider signing up to be a channel member. And if you're watching all the way through at this point, maybe you'll want to check out some of my other videos shown on screen here. Alrighty nerds, I'll see you in the next one.